Good evening. I'm Jamie Walker, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch my post. I think that a Christian worldview of history is inherent in people who are either raised in the Christian faith or embrace it at some point in life. It's impossible to completely take Christian values and separate them from facts when dealing with American history or even the European history after the fall of the Roman Empire. But as an entity, Christianity has permeated the events, the trends, the characters of history since the time of Christ. And so when we consider the actions of these characters and the decisions they made, it's often against a yardstick of God's word, and it's easy to criticize from a millennia's distance away. Geographically, it's most difficult to apply the Christian worldview to history in regions where Christianity didn't spread as quickly. Southeast Asia, Pacific Islands, and the like. But conversely, it's very consistent in terms of the moral values of mankind. In particular, there are 2 points that were made in the 9 principles of the Christian worldview of history that seem to express themselves the most. And that was this week has been my first introduction to that. And I've been really impressed by that. And I can find a lot of utility in my work in the future from those 9 points as a side note. But the two that struck me the most in dealing with a situation where you're having to look at non-Christian regions from a historical standpoint is the point that says that man is an image bearer of God, yet fallen and sinful. And the point that says the Bible provides principles of ethics that guide our evaluation of people and nations. And from those 2 points alone, I think the Christian researcher has the upper hand when studying the histories of the regions not traditionally thought of as Christian. The consistency of the idea of man being flawed is universal, and the same decisions face the colonial North Americans on a day-to-day basis as those who lived during the same time in the Philippines when it came down to how one should treat their neighbor or honesty in their business dealings and practices. The only real variable there is the geography. And geography is a critical variable, particularly when you look at a situation like World War II, which is collectively one event, but there are hundreds and hundreds of regions and cultures involved in it. So one particular event can be different for 100 million different people. They can have 100 million different perspectives. But this just further illustrates my favorite point from the 9 principles, that God is comprehensively sovereign over all the nations. Those 100 million people all fell under the same rule of law, or I'm sorry, the same rule of God that you and I do right at this moment. It also shows definitively that while there seem to be some cyclical properties to human history, mankind's story is linear, and it's still being written at this very moment. And that's why history excites me. It makes me wonder what the next chapter is going to bring. Thank you for watching.